Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I think I'm gonna show you, I just finished filming some other things, and I think I'm gonna show you how I go about just, practicing and cleaning up my palette. We'll paint a pretty little pink rose here and just kind of use up the paint. This is one of the things that I do towards the end of the day, and it's been a long filming day here for me, and I sit there and this is where I practice and try new things. So you're gonna join me for this little bit of a ride, okay? So I have my palette out here. This is my standard palette, and I just wiped it off here. I've been painting with it all day long. And this is the Hansa yellow, Darulite yellow, and yellow oxide, kind of mixed up now since it's been out all day. And burnt sienna and yellow, naphtha red light, pine green, phthalo blue, quinacridone violet, red violet, and white. And I have a little bit of the Deepening open medium out. This allows me to paint more of an alla prima, and then I also have a little cap of extender medium. And so I found this little pink rose. I have a whole file of just photos that are, that I go out and find that are copyright free that we can use. And so I thought this would be kind of a fun as a juvenile rose to show you how we go about painting something like this, a little bit more impressionistic, and I want to add some impressionistic flair to this painting. So I'll set it up here as a bit of a reference. I have a board. This is just my standard board, which I take a little bit of white and yellow and black. I base coat it, then I sand it with 180 grit sandpaper. It's just an MDF board. Nice. They're inexpensive, ones to practice with, like I've told you before in so many other videos. I get them in big sheets. You can order them online at Dick Blick or Amazon. You get a hardboard. I do not use paper or cardboards or anything like that because they're too absorptive to the paints and cause them to dry faster. So I use a board, and an MDF board or a hardboard or a tempered masonite. I give it a coat of paint and sand it, and then it always works perfect. Okay, so let's get in and let's paint some of this. And I'm going to do this a little bit more impressionistic. And so let me show you how I'm going to practice some impressionism here and try some new looks, okay? And this is what I find most satisfying as an artist. I'm going to take my 3/4 inch brush, a little bit of my naphtha red light, my quinacridone violet. I'm going to mix it up with some extender medium. Now I use the extender medium because it's thinner. Now the board here is a little bit of a rectangle shape. Now I can trim it down. If this becomes a painting that I'm going to use, I'll trim it down to whatever size that I want. But I'm going to paint an impressionistic rose here first up. And so usually what I do is, rather than just start a perfect circle or something like that, I start the feeling of the rose here. And I'm actually going to start it bigger than what it is. And so the rose, when we look at the rose here, as the rose grows, and I should shove this over just a bit and bring out my value scale so you guys that are studying along with me online know exactly the colors. I want to get this feeling here. So I start to analyze the feeling of the rose. This is more of a vertical mark here that will give this roundness. This is a young juvenile opening up. These petals go out and fold down and curl open. And so I want to be able to capture some of that feeling. And so I'm going to capture some of this vertical mark of it. Now I'm going to do it longer, and this is going to be impressionistic, and longer and wider than what it actually is, and pull some of those lines out, and we'll build the rose. This is my plan. We'll build the rose inside of this, okay, with some other lines and marks and stuff. And this is how I develop new looks, and this is what the galleries and stuff like that really like. So I'm just gonna bring some of these marks out like this of this color. Now I'm going to add, there's darks in there, which are really kind of nice to play against these lighter pinks and stuff. So we might just develop some of those darks. So let's just grab some pine green and some of our burnt sienna here, and let's just develop some of that right now. And I use my paper towel a lot because see, it still gives a nice movement like this, but it doesn't destroy. It doesn't mix the colors too much here. So, and that's what I'm trying to do, is not to mix the colors too much. I do like that little bit of dark there. Let's get it a bit more, maybe more green right up here, and pull that down. See, this is, it's fun to play. You know, art, what we do as artists is just so much fun if you don't let the frustration get to you. Just have some fun. It's just a bit of paint and a brush, and this is really where, for me as an artist, where I love to go. I love to try these things and try new things. And if it doesn't work, it's just a bit of paint and a board. It doesn't hurt anything, you know. So we'll just kick a little bit of this out here, leave some of those colors. That's just kind of pretty there, like that. Let's go in and let's just give the idea of that stem. And so I'm using my 3/4 inch brush because, you know, I'm a big advocate that you use as large a brush as possible, you know, when you're starting a painting. And, you know, we'll go from there. So, okay, so I like that. See, I like this blurred out, taking, you know, you can kind of see where the rose is going to sit in there, right? Maybe, you know. I've never really kind of done this with you guys before. This is practice stuff that I see at the end of the day, but I thought some of you, you know, might enjoy this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you know, it is just fun to try. So let's take some of the cooler color that we see in the center of that little pinky rose there, that juvenile rose. Let's add, maybe we'll start, I usually switch over to the open medium here when I start to paint more alla prima and very thick paint. So maybe I'll go for that right now. And let's just drop in the cooler dark area of that rose. And it's more of a vertical line, so I want to pull this up and down. And so I'm not going to copy the rose exactly because that'll just get me frustrated. And so what I'm going to do is try to capture, I'm going to try to catch some of the feeling of the movement in an impressionistic way here, and you know, just and let what happens happen. That's the most beautiful part about it. Just let what happens happen. Let's take a more of a medium and come right out here like this, seeing some of that. So I just kind of read a line where that petal is going to come out here. So I'm not trying to emulate it perfectly. I'm just going to you know, do a little, just a little bit of it here. Now, right back up here, let's take some of these colors. Let's just add what would be the impressionism of another one, maybe another bud here. And let's get a little bit more. Let's even touch into some red violet here. Get it a little cooler, more powerful. And what is the bud? More of an oval shape, right? So, but see, I don't want to, I like this. This is what I call incorporating paint, but not blending it. I like the colors to move through, but without blending. So I got to be careful not to touch it too much, see? And so I want these colors to just kind of swirl together, almost like a marbleizing is what I always tell my students. It's like a feeling of a marbleizing. Let's get that lower shadow in there, like that. See, that lower, deeper shadow here. Okay. Yeah, that's going to work, I think. And the thing is give it a bit of a stem, maybe just an idea of a calyx here. See, and if I put the green down there, we all know a calyx is there. This was Hansa yellow and pine green from my last painting. So we'll just take a bit of that. But we all know that calyx, you know, is there. That's, you know, the calyx is the stem part of the flower. And, you know, we all know that that's there in a rose and a flower. And so it is something that we just have to give the impression of it. You don't have to paint a perfect one. You just put a little green at the bottom of the rosebud and people will see it that way. that's the thing. That's the nature of an impressionism. I don't like to go all the way, out to, just really really wild impressionism. I like it to be what we call representational. So it looks like it looks like a rose, but I can certainly see how impressionism really pulls a lot of people, because I do like it as well. And here we go. So a bit of that there. Now let's just capture some of the feeling of this rose with some of the petals here. We'll take some of our quinacridone and some of our, which is a cool red, some of our naphtha red light, which is a warm red. Here we'll make a nice pink, mid-pink color. We'll add open medium to everything we do so this stays wet as we build. Let's build a bigger petal here. Now, some of this I'm going to read what has happened to the rose itself, because I like what's going on out here. So I'm not going to try to copy. Let me get this over just a bit more. I'd like you guys to kind of see without zooming out here, see the other rose. Maybe we can zoom the camera guys out just a bit. There we go. And so you can still kind of see a little bit of it. That I'm not going to copy it. I'm going to catch the feeling of it. Like I like this folded out petal here. So maybe I'll come out and maybe reach out a little bit farther here and put one in, and it's coming in slightly at that angle and then pulls out like that into this and drops down to a bigger one right down here. Without losing, I want to leave that bottom of the bowl there. So we'll leave that right there. And I don't want to get too much bigger, but I do like this a little bit more vertical than it is more of a round shape here. So I think I'm going to leave that there like that. So let's go a little bit lighter. Always make sure you feed it with your open medium. And let's just answer this petal coming in, boom, like this, and just kind of joining in right here, just small marks. Because if you're a pure, alla prima and really an impressionist, you don't make too many curve strokes. So you would break it into several smaller movements of the brush. You make marks, color marks. And it really is very important that way. That took me a long time to catch that. I'm going to put a little bit of light right there, just like that. And that, I might even just kind of I like that look right there, fading off, even almost the square kind of shape instead of the round here. I kind of like that, so I just might just do a little bit of light sketching. Now, I do like almost like a little greenish color coming into that as well there. So let's just add a little bit of that into there. And we'll go a touch lighter. We'll add our medium here. And we'll give it a little bit of a light hit right there for that particular petal. I'm not going to try to capture them perfectly here. Just going to kind of capture some petals here. And coming out at this angle here. This is, to me, is just the most fun part of painting, is the experimenting with the techniques. And pull this out. And we'll push that movement. Boom. See that movement? That movement right there like that boom coming out of that. And I don't try to get it precise. I just try to get the emulation of it there. And because they're not going to have this rose that we're using for ideas, they're not going to have it anywhere around the painting. Okay, so it you just try to catch the idea of it. Okay, now let's come right down here. A little bit darker, a little medium here, and just kind of catch that bottom feeling of that one there. Okay, I like all that. I feel like this is too much of a powerful line right here, right now. That that strong horizontal I have there. So I'm going to take it back with some pink just a bit. Blur that out into that just a bit more. And I might have to do some other stuff to it. Let's come back. Let's warm this up a bit so it's slightly different color. And so more naphtha red light and white. We want to keep the value up here around a 7 or an 8. And let's swing in that first part of that. So I'm going to warm it up a little more than what I see here. And swing in. I almost did too much of a curved stroke there. And I like that. Then we'll add some of that cooler color right down in there. And let that just... But I want to keep kind of a nice vertical look in here. Vertical look to the rose there as well. So let's go back, push some of this coolness in. Here's well. I like the warm against the cool. Push some of that cool color in there, like that. That works. Okay, so a little bit more of that right down in there. That's good. Here, and now let's lighten up. We'll come right in here where it's a little warmer, lighter, right in here, and let's build in this slightly lighter petal here. Boom. And it's actually, you know, it's just a huge petal that just joins into this one. And now I might make this just fade off here into 2. Sometimes putting in a big, huge, you know, like whippy petal that you see out there can really be distracting. And so I tend not to do that, to break up the rose just a bit more than sometimes what you see in a painting. And so, I mean, into a suggestion, into our reference, I will change it a bit. I'm going to bring this angle down a bit more. So now when I start to draw a little bit more, this is where I'll come in, take my paint on the edge of my brush and refine my line here, like draw that petal edge like you saw me do there, maybe hit a few edges there. I can refine that line, refine that movement just a bit like that. Okay, and that works. Let's take a little red violet, or quinacridone violet. Let's just swirl around in here a bit more. I paint for movement a lot of the time, so I'll swirl that around in there. And if I want to bring that edge in, then I can just touch into this edge like this, and I can draw that petal edge that's right up there a bit more precise. Sometimes I'll even just like pull it down if I'm going to, you know, I want to give more vertical to this rose than what it is in the original one there. So, because I want this vertical line here. That's just something that I want to play with. You know, I learned that a lot in landscapes. When I play around and do a lot of stuff with landscapes, is putting in and you hear me say very strong horizontals, very strong verticals within the landscape itself, which gives you a tremendous amount of power to it. And so you leave some of those lines. So now I'm going to go down to a small little brush here. I'll put some of my red violet in here, a little medium. Then we'll edge up. So I'll do a bit of a more refinement in here in just making some marks here, just with the edge, the petal edging technique, just picking up that edge there. And you know, and this rose, these curve down into a perfect little center, and they round around. So I'm not going to copy it. I just want to catch some of that feeling of these, you know, rounding down and around in there. This opens up here. I wanted to catch that. That opens up and drops down. That's kind of a nice line, but I might pull out just a bit here. And you can always take your dark and negative paint back inside of that to reduce some of the line, open it back up, and do whatever you want to do. So this first one here actually, it bends down. I do kind of like that. So in other words, this comes down over that other one just a bit, breaks that line to that front bowl. And so there are a few of these lines that I do like. I'll do them or preserve them or come up with my version of it, not trying to get it exactly. Yeah, see, that kind of opens that up a bit there. Let's take a bit of this light. This is where you can come out here and hit a few areas and just push in a little bit of light, which works kind of nice. And we'll go even lighter yet. Nice light pink here. And we'll put in this folded edge right here, which is kind of fun. And I just tap and push it. Try not to stroke too many times, it'll become one color, but I just want to capture the feeling of this. And it bends out and actually becomes into this petal here. I'll push some of that movement there, right there like that. Some of this edge, though, here I'll take some darker color, run that right along that edge, and maybe pull the vertical down into that. So that edge, so they kind of disappear there together. But I can take, if I really want to draw it, and this all becomes, part of your look, what you want to do is step out to a lighter spot, or a clean spot here. Let's make a light pink and an edge, just like that, okay? And this will allow me to draw a little bit more precision onto the edge here. And pull in just a bit there like that. And that's good. Now I'm going to take a little red violet, a little quinacridone violet, a little bit of red, some more red violet, nice deep color, and shoot that deep shadow right in there. Touch that in. You can see you can paint this just like oils in that it's really wet here. Let's put a little bit of that right down in here for the roundness and move in and out just a bit. So you can do it with a large brush. A small little brush like this allows you to have a bit of detail to it. But again, I'm changing this, so I'm not going to copy, just because it's at the end of the day here. I've been painting all day and work, unless it's really hard to copy when you've had a full day of painting and you're tired. So I'm playing with the colors, setting and looking for the movement more than anything else. Let's put a light little edge. Let's go back over here. Put a light little edge. So this little brush like this is nice for drawing those little edges. They don't have to be precise, and you don't always want to make it a solid line, so break it up a bit. That's where you'll get a little bit more interest. And pull down off of that edge just to, and see, I'll get some movement there with that. Maybe a bit of art. There it is. I was looking for my pink brush here. Sometimes it's best to go back with your big brush to soften that movement in and out. There we go. Just like that. And let's put a bit more light right out here, because I do like that light against that dark there. Just like that. And you can see everything's really wet. Sometimes you'll see me use my finger, sometimes the brush, and it's just a matter of trying to get different looks. So, especially if I'm using the small brush like this, a little heavier, a little more drawing here, just like that. Let's go a little bit lighter right out here. We'll do the couple of angled strokes here. So I don't mix, you can kind of see it, it's streaked a little bit. It's a little mottled into my, what I call mottled in my brush. It's not mixed real well. See, so I tap it into like this, so it's not a solid color. Don't work your palette like this. That'll mix it. You want to just tap into your colors. That keeps them from mixing too much. If you mix too much on your palette, your whole flower will lose a lot of interest because it won't get any of those little subtle streaks into it. And that's what we want to have. Let's get back here. Let's put just a touch of, we'll thin out because I'm going to come to a thin area of the rose. So I'll add some extender medium and a little bit of green. So it's grayed here because you can kind of see it. See how it's a little bit more grayed right there. And I do like that. And so let's pull this in here with a little bit of that grayed color right there. And that's kind of pretty. I want to have some more depth, some more bang of color. So I'm going to go back to some deeper, thicker color. So we'll go into alla prima with the medium here, and I'm going to set that right down in here. I want that thicker color in there. More color. I'm going to push this out just a bit here to leave that bowl of that rose. Let's cut across here. See, I can even draw some with my finger as I use those heavier colors like that. Let's get this nice depth right down in there. Okay, a little halftone is an easy way to capture that. Just right between here and here, a little tone right in there will help keep that dark, but set that movement that I want there with it coming out as well. And that worked. Let's put a bit of that halftone back up here again. You can see everything is really wet still. So that open medium and the extender combination there is keeping everything super wet. And I'm going to push this down in here a bit. I like that vertical. So I'll push that vertical. Want that vertical movement just like that. That's good. Maybe a bit more of that larger brush here. There's the afternoon train. Love that. We'll just put a bit of that right in there like that. That's kind of neat. So I don't like it. I do like this. I took that big long whippy petal there that is here on this one, and I've actually cut it into a couple here, and I do like that better here. We'll just stroke that movement there just a bit more. That's kind of neat. It's coming around. We'll just pull. I want this to kind of feel like it rounds up and over a bit. There's a tiny little, just little things, like there's a tiny little petal right there that just helps round that center. And so we can go do that with the small one as well. It just helps round that center up, which I like. And a bit of the feeling of that round bowl right down there. So I like that. Now, you know, do you want to put the, you know, there's a lot of things that you have to decide. Do you want to put that little side plane fold right, that's right here into this petal, and those are all your choices. But you know, my biggest advice when I do this is, you know, keep it simple. Keep it as your petals, your movements, everything as simple as possible, so that you know, it doesn't become too complicated. Simple roses are more fun to look at in many ways. I'm going to put a little more red, and I'm going to push this over around the bottom of this bowl just a bit more. And I could use that to negative paint, give some nice contrast. We'll pull down to get that vertical. and a little bit of the lighter cool pink right up in here as well. Here we go. You know, that gives that nice feeling of that vertical and stuff in there. That works pretty well. Now we'll just take I'm going to work in the back there, so I'm going to work it a little thinner, a little light, a little thinner. We'll give just the idea of a rosebud here. Pull some of this color here around there. Just the idea of a rosebud. Maybe a petal coming here and starting to open up just a bit. And see, this is what I do. I tend to just sit down, have a little bit of fun, try a few extra little things to use up my palette. And it looks like I'll have enough to do another one too. But, you know, if I get too tired or something and get too tired, I just go, you know, you can put your paints away and put them in a container, you know, and keep them that way. All kinds of ways to do it. The containers and stuff, I use the little containers. They're over on, there's a link to what did I use. You can go get it over on eBay and stuff, and you'll find that always on our supply page of our Jansen Art Studio. You just click the videos and then the supplies and you'll see it. So that just gives a little rosebud there. Let's put a bit more of a rounding. Boom, kind of a shape. And let some of that just, see, I like that. Don't mix it, just push the movement of it, see there, and leave that movement. That's a very important part of it. Now, to give just a bit more interest to this rose, I'm going to lighten it up a touch more here. So let's lighten up just a touch more, not everywhere, just in the areas that I want to bring forward. So there, now that's a little bit of a straight line, so I'm going to add an extra little bump right in there. And let's add a touch more light right up in there onto the tip of that one there. Okay. Let's add a small little hit of the light here. Right in there like that. And that works a little bit of the bump of a light here. Just like that. Leave some of those little streaks and those movements. I like those. They add so much. Let's get a bit more of a light right out here next to this dark. And so, you know, if you want to grab that movement pretty precise, you come out at this angle and then that goes in at that angle and down. So we're painting in these angles here. And that's what gives around us. You don't want to go right down into there. And one reason why we don't do that, and it came from landscape studies that I have, is the reason I don't do that, which I did in decorative painting for years, but I don't do that, is because light does not bend. Light moves in planes. And in pure alla prima, you know, when you're having some fun, you make these plane strokes, and each one of those planes is a slightly different color tone depending upon where it is to the light. And so I did hundreds of paintings that way to study that with the light. Now it just becomes part of you there. So that works out okay there. And I think I'm going to widen this out just a touch more so it comes a little closer to this one, but we'll widen this out, this shadow out, which will allow me to push and widen the bowl out just a bit here to widen this out a bit more here. But it's all about, you know, it's all about capturing the image of it, not copying it. So, and that sometimes, you know, when you're painting like this, that's a hard thing to stop yourself from trying to copy. I know. You know, I know that. So that's kind of neat. That just widens that out just a bit more over there. Now, I'm going to not rinse it out completely, just a little bit. Get rid of the water by touching it into some extender. Let's come back out here to our green and our burnt sienna. This lovely color. I'm going to add extender because I don't want this to have too much power. And we'll come out here by starting to add some of these leaves here. And I'm going to let that set for just a second, and then I'm going to take it off the edge there, like that. And we'll push one right down over here. Usually, you know, they have that nice trinity of leaves that comes off of the rose, the stems. Ooh, I like that little bit of bump there. There, like that. So you would put another one right out there. Matter of fact, in the photo, you can see one kind of going this way, that way, and one a little bit off over there. The three leaves of the... We'll just give the idea, impression of one coming out there. Maybe one coming out this side. Just very impressionistic, just hardly even there. There, like that. That pushes that through. Let's see if we can take some of this dark and get this line up a little higher right here. Yeah, see, that dark works that line better. And see, I like that pink and stuff coming through here. I think I might want to go a little bit darker. Right down in just a real nice, deep, rich red. Right down in there. And pull some of that down. Right like that, so that continues on down here. In actuality, I have it a little, I mean, I wanted that. I started out with that, but that might be just a bit too long in the body right here in the bowl for this rose. So we might shorten it back down again. I'll show you. We just take some, it's easy. You use leaf correction medium. You just take a little bit of your leaf colors and you paint back up into here and let some of those reds and stuff come through. But push the leaves back up into that just a bit, like that. And let's take this one off just a bit. Narrow it back down here. Take some of that and just pull that down. See, we're going to blur that out. But we want to get those leaf colors in because they stop the rose just a bit there. Okay. And I like that. That's just a little heavy right there. So I'll push. And if that's a little dry right there, if you're going to push, this is dangerous right now, but take a little water. That's your solvent. Put just a bit of that into your paper towel and then push, and you'll remove it. See how easy it is to take that off. I don't want to take that much off. So there. Now let's deepen that red. I did that once on this one rose, and I immediately got contacted by a gallery in Los Angeles that wanted to have a whole bunch of paintings like that. They love that. You know, and that was so funny. I'll tell you a little story. What was so funny about that is that I put it up on social media, got all these likes, and then I get this one comment that's kind of deflating sometimes, you know, we all get that from somebody. And she says, I hate this. It looks like the heart of the rose is bleeding. But yet, then, you know, immediately I got contacted by this gallery in Southern California that wanted to represent me and sell the painting. And actually, the painting sold for $1,200. And it was, you know, a real quick little painting. So don't ever let somebody's comments get you down. Just, you know, everybody's different. You know, and so I like that. So, ooh, that really is kind of neat. like that, just boom. Maybe I'll put this up on social media and another gallery contact you. You never know. So let's put a little more contrast of that red right up in there. Let that just all right come right there like that. Maybe some ghost. I want to give some ghost kind of petals right in there. So I want the paint thin. So I'm going to add extender here. So the paint has no power. So I like that little bit of green into that too. So we'll just kind of ghost this in here. These petals right in there like that. That's kind of nice. Let's ghost this in here just a bit. A little bit of light here. Pull it in a bit. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. Let's put and so I look for other places like a little hit of red right there. That'd be kind of pretty. Big old hit of red right in here would be pretty. Boom. There. And that all comes to you with lots of time behind the brush of practicing different looks of roses and then getting brave enough to try it. There we go. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. Let's put a little of that nice deep red right down in there, into that swirly little center of that rose there, and that's kind of pretty. Let's take some of this red, push this out, maybe a bit of light. My idea here is just to carry the color, move this down, not really a rose shape per se, but just the idea of one here, coming down, maybe a little bit here, just to, kind of the feeling of a rose, the petal, the feeling of it moving off down here. Blur it off with your paper towel, gives that lovely impressionistic look down here, like that. Maybe a bit of our green. And if I don't want this to be very much, which I don't, I add extender to thin it out. So the colors are thinner here. We'll add just a bit of that movement, a little bit of this kind of stem action here. Movement there, just pulling it down. Maybe even the idea of a calyx here, see? So you get the feeling that that rose is turned just a bit. That's kind of pretty. A little bit of movement going through. And that's kind of pretty. And, I might, now that, you look at the whole thing here, I might just whack off just about an inch of this right here. And if I wanted to elongate this at all, which I might, let's thin out our color, so just a bit of a power. And we'll add one more little rosebud right up here. So then we get this powerful line of movement, a little dark. And sometimes I'll add the greens to the reds here. So they go very dirty, dusty grayer. So they don't have as much contrast of power here. And we'll go a little pink, just an idea. Just paint an idea of it. Don't paint a rose. Paint an idea of a rose. Let's give it just the idea of a calyx there. Boom. Down. And this all comes, it looks like I do these kinds of things. I mean, here's the reality of it, guys, okay? I'll be very serious with you now. Let me tell you, I used to really worry about the shapes and stuff of those roses. And I go in there and try to make them perfect. Then they become very stiff, or they become very thick in paint, very opaque. Now, that rose I just put on there in 7 seconds is immaterial to the whole painting. Its entire job is to carry color. It does not have to be perfect. It has to have kind of the shape of a bud, a rosebud, kind of an oval, maybe a little bit of light petal here to the front, so it kind of looks like that. A little bit of green. Anything I put down here is going to look kind of like a calyx to it. you know, which is this is good. That's all said and done. And it just here like having a little spin to the center. That's it. Now, could I make it more? Yes, I could make it more, but it'll probably destroy the whole look of the painting here that I'm really kind of going for. So, but the big thing is, I've learned over time that don't fret those. Just put on the movement shape of a rose. Just, you know, what I do a lot of times is squint down till I just see barely what it is and paint it, and it's done, and call it done. Don't go in there and fuss with it because you'll bring its power up, and then you really got a problem. Let's put on some younger leaves here, which the younger rose leaves tend to go a little bit more burnt sienna. So let's just go with the trinity of the younger leaves here, just like that, and we'll just drop in the idea of, and then we'll just take a bit of it off here, just like that. And that's kind of pretty right there with the burnt sienna in there. You could have a little bit more in there, but I love those colors. I love these colors. I love this. Let's break this just a bit with some of that pink. And see, that's what impressionists will do. We'll break that color just like that. A little bit of that pink. Let's put a little bit more of a spot right in there. Here. And drag that through. And that's perfect. Gets rid of that. That's really a strong, I really gave it a strong horizontal there. And that just, see, that kind of looks almost like another rose way back on the other side of the composition there. You know, you can come in here with a powerful spot of that red too if you want. And see, that just puts in that nice power right in there of that red. Or a brighter green. You know, we haven't added any of our brighter greens or anything like that. You could put those in. Like I said before, you can negative paint up against them. Let's just put in a little bit more of a brighter green and see if that's going to do anything in there. And that does work. That is kind of nice. Here, we'll add just a touch of that through. Maybe a pull down here. Here we go. Just drag that through. See, I like that paper towel to take away some of that power, but still give that line there. And that's kind of neat. Just add a bit of that through. There. It's kind of a fun little, you know, taking the idea of the rose. And so I elongated it a little bit more so I can push the power of it vertical here. So you can see that one's more of a round. So that my design is a little bit more vertical because the board's a little bit more vertical here. I think I will open up this. I'll finish this off opening up this petal just a touch more here. That gives me a little more power to my vertical here. Here we go. There, just like that. I kind of like that. That opened it up quite a bit. Just pull that one in that way and that way. So you know, when you look at that, you can see the veining on the rose. You can see a shadow here. This would be one stroke, a light stroke, a down stroke. That's how an alla prima, you know, would approach it. And but here I'm going to do it just a bit different, and that's kind of neat. There. And yeah, that's gives you kind of a nice look for that rose there. Let's put just a bit more, just like that. And it's just picking out which petals, you know, might want to come up a bit more to help round that up, and I really need to get that nice little one there to help round that up a bit. And I think that's pretty much it for that. It's a nice, it's a different, it has a lot going on, you know. And so I'll put it out there. Someone will probably say, "Oh, I don't like that. Your rose is bleeding." It's okay. I don't worry about that. Because I'll turn around and there'll be someone who'll go, "God, that's the best thing that I ever saw in my life," and then they'll want it. And that's art, guys. That's what art is, you know. You can never make anything you paint. I've learned you can never make everybody happy. There's people that are just not going to like it. And then they're going to tell you about it. And you just let that just roll right off your back. Don't worry about it at all. So somebody will like it and stuff. And have a bit of fun with it. And try some of these looks. I mean, because they can do wonderful things. The Impressionism, which is so popular today. You know, you can have a lot of fun with it. Okay? All right? Hope you enjoy that. If you do, if you want to see some of these fun little things, or what I call my end of the day paintings, where I'm trying little things, if you want to try those along with me, make sure you click like to the video, add a comment to it, you know, and help us out, help us grow our channel. And I'll put up some of this stuff. I'll even show you how I do, you know, how I change and practice landscapes and trees and clouds and all that kind of different stuff. And we'll have a bit of fun with playing around with it and trying new things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, to show you how, basically, if I give you all these tools up here, you can pull them back and you can find your way. You can find your technique, your look. Because all of us go searching for a look, you know, so you can find your look, and it's a lot of fun, okay? Alrighty. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on the next video, and hit like. Thanks very much. Bye.